Welcome back to another edition of 60 Super Bowls in 60 Days. We are in East Rutherford, New Jersey, outside of New York, for Super Bowl 48. It is February 2nd, 2014, at the MetLife Stadium. It is the dominant Legion of Doom defense of the Seattle Seahawks, with the young Russell Wilson and the absolute brilliance of Pete Carroll, versus the high-flying, high-octane, mile-high dominance of the Denver Broncos, with Peyton Manning setting records for most passing touchdowns and all kind of offensive gadgets. And by the look of the scoreline, this was not even a close contest. 43-8, Seattle won their first ever Super Bowl in history, and it was over before even the first snap. In fact, the game was over like like 10 minutes, like I don't know, 30 seconds, I guess. So let me just tell you the little details before we get to the statistical anomaly. This was, and I let me see I can do my research. Let me just see how I can do my research just a little carefully. So let's just see. Super Bowl 40. Nope. Super Bowl 48. Let's see. Okay, there you go. Super Bowl 48. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody's hyped up. People sitting down. They got their popcorn. They got their chips ready. They're about to watch a really good Super Bowl game between the best offense versus the best defense in the league. You know, Broncos get the ball first. Everybody's settling down. Everybody's just chattering up. Everybody wanted to know what will happen in this game. All the kind of strategies. Maybe it might be a close game. Maybe I calm down to 4 quarters. Who knows? Here we go. First possession of the game for Denver Broncos. Let's see. First possession. Let's see. Okay. Ping Manning. Okay. How do I explain this? So, Peyton Manning trying to call up a play, of course. He decided to move forward into the center. And unfortunately, the center snaps the ball way up top of his head. And it was called a safety. Yeah, it was a safety. And if you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe Denver have like the rest of the game to recover. Oh, no. They never recovered. They never ever recovered from that. It was 29-0 around the third quarter. 29-0 around the third quarter. Then it was 36-0 around the third quarter. This game was a wrap. This game was an absolute wrap at 36-0. I have never seen Denver getting beat in a Super Bowl this badly since. Hey, look at that. Like a little callback to one of my videos, of course. Except they got beat by probably one of the best teams of the 80s in the San Francisco, 49ers, and Joe Montana and Steve Young and Ray Rice and all kinds of stuff. That's understandable. You could just say, hey, put your hands up. That was a really good offense. This was against a defense that actually make you squirm. And sometimes you put Denver hands up and say, yep, we got beat. We got absolutely beat. To the stats. Russell Wilson from Seattle, 18-25 for 206 yards and 2 touchdowns. Peyton Manning, 34-49 for 280 yards and a touchdown and 2 interceptions. For the rushing, Marshawn Lynch, 15 carries of 39 yards and 2.6 a pop and a touchdown. Hey, at least they use Marshawn Lynch. It's not that they're going to, not use Marshawn Lynch in a highly competitive Super Bowl, of course. That is foreshadowing. Robert Turbin, 9 rushes for 25 yards and 2.78 to pop. No Sean Moreno from the Denver Broncos, 5 carries for 17 yards and 3.4 pop. CJ Anderson, 2 carries for 9 yards at 4.5 a pop. He was one of the best running backs, of course. 2 carries for 9 yards, that's not going to cut it. For the receivers, Doug Baldwin, 5 catches for 66 yards at 13.2 a pop and a touchdown. Jermaine Kearse, 4 catches for 65 yards at 16.25 a pop and a touchdown. Golden Tate, 3 catches for 17 yards at 5.65 a pop. For the Denver Broncos, Demaryius Thomas, 13 catches for 118 yards and 9.08 a pop and a touchdown. Wes Welker, 8 catches for 84 yards and 10.5 a pop. Julius Thomas, 4 catches for 27 yards at 6.75 a pop. But this is where the entire game turned. This is the defense of the Seattle Seahawks. And I will tell you one thing. Most of these players are going to be Hall of Famers by this coming generation. I mean, some of these players might go Hall of Fame. Some of them are already, but the names I'm going to read, it's just like a list of the best defenders to ever grace this game. And on this night, they put their absolute stomp on this game. Like Cam Chancellor, interception, 10 tackles. Michael Smith, the MVP of the Super Bowl, with a 69-yard return touchdown. Nice. On an interception with 10 tackles. Chris Clemens, sack and 3 tackles and 2 forced fumbles. Bobby Wagner, 10 tackles. Earl Thomas and KJ Wright, 7 tackles. Clinton McDonald, 5 tackles. Brian Maxwell, 4 tackles and forced fumble. Cliff Averill, Brandon Maben, and Mr. Richard Sherman. Walter Thurman all have 3 tackles. Michael Bennett and Bruce Irvin and Ricardo Lockett with 2 tackles. Doug Baldwin with a tackle. This is the Legion of Doom on full display in the Super Bowl. This was 60 minutes of absolute fisting. And not even Bruno Mars performing in the Super Bowl can even make this even better. That is how brutal this Super Bowl was. And Denver did okay in defense, I guess. I said Danny Trevanta with 12 tackles. Duke Ichanicho with 6 tackles. Mike Adams with 6 tackles. Malik Jackson and Terry Nine with 5 tackles. Champ Bailey, Nate Irvin, Jeremy Mincy, Sean Phillips with 4 tackles each. And Wesley Woodward with 3 tackles each. So at least Denver have defense. For lack thereof, I guess. For the special teams, Percy Harvin with an 87-yard kickoff return touchdown. And then Steve Hoska with 5 for 5 PATs and 2 for 2 field goals. Yeah, you notice that I didn't put any single Denver player kicking anything because Denver scored a touchdown and it went for 2. That's it. There was no kick in this game. Not a single kick in this game. That is how thoroughly dominated it was. If you dominated your opponent so much that they even kicked a field goal, then you just make my night even easier. Total yards, Seattle 341 to Denver 306. But 4 pick turnovers by Denver really sunk them in to Seattle's none. It was 60 minutes of the most dominant football we have ever seen from a team that is young, that is hungry, that is brilliant, that is energetic, and have a really good coach in Pete Carroll. And my God, it was a beatdown from pillar to post. I don't even need to show you the best plays or the highlights or anything like that. It just 60 minutes of doom. That's what it called. 60 minutes of absolute doom delivered you by the Seattle Seahawks. And I got nothing else to say about this other than tomorrow, the Seattle Seahawks will try again to trying to make a dynasty. But unfortunately, I have some sad news. They're back. And they are back to wreck your chances, to wreck your hearts, and all the kind of stuff. And unfortunately, one play really cements one team's legacy and fallacy at the same time. So anyways, that's much to say about this Super Bowl. It was an absolute beatdown from the start. Nothing much to say. Other than thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to this video. And for any more videos as we're about to get ready for Super Bowl 60 coming up in February 8th. Please keep your eye for your calendars and your videos, of course. And we'll see you all next time.